Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for standing by and welcome to the webinar Modernize Your VMware Workloads and Applications with IBM Cloud, presented by IBM in association with CIO Access. Speaker for today's webinar is Mr. Brent Scotton. Mr. Scotton is the Program Director and Offering Leader for IBM Cloud for VMware Solutions portfolio at IBM. He has over 15 years of experience in software, cloud, and managed IT services, focusing on product lifecycle management, product strategy and roadmap, go-to-market strategy, content marketing, sales and partner enablement, and implementations of agile principles. During the entire course of presentation, all participants' line will be in listen-only mode. During the session, if you have any questions, please post your queries through the chat window and we will discuss the same during the question and answer session once the presentation is over. During the entire course of presentation, if you face any uninterrupted disruption, please be patient. We will take the necessary steps to restore the service immediately. So now, without any further delay, would like to hand over the proceedings to Mr. Scotton. Mr. Scotton, welcome to the program. You're now ready to begin.
Rudy, appreciate it. Thank you everyone for joining. My name is Brent, and really appreciate you and your time today. In this webinar, we're going to be discussing a couple of core concepts around hybrid cloud, why there's a very strong reason to move VMware VMs to the public cloud, as well as touching upon what we are seeing across our enterprise client base and some of the challenges they have with modernizing VMware workloads and how the public cloud can help them remove a lot of those roadblocks and modernize their applications to really take advantage of the advanced cloud services that are available and help their business. Before we get too far into it, I want to first talk about the concept of public cloud, as well as kind of describing the differences between hybrid cloud model and on-premises. So a lot of companies that we work with are heavily invested in VMware, in the skills, in the software, in the operational capabilities around the VMware ecosystem, and they have a huge investment in VMware on premises, and that would be in their data centers. The hybrid cloud concept or hybrid cloud model allows enterprises to be able to take that investment on premises and be able to extend the life of that investment and extend the workloads and applications from their data center into the public cloud in terms of capacity. And that being able to extend their workloads into the public cloud while leveraging the VMware investment that they have, maintaining the same operational consistency across these applications in terms of how they're administered. That is really the kind of the concept behind hybrid cloud. And that's a huge benefit that we're seeing across the enterprise clients that we work with when they go to look at public cloud and adopting kind of this hybrid cloud model so that they can continue to take advantage of the existing investment. What our research has shown is that companies, both large and small, rely on digital services to enhance their end user experiences and really create new ways to engage with their end users and their clients. The digital services help drive new revenue streams and new opportunities to help drive revenue for their companies. And lastly, the digital services help them maintain their competitive edge by being able to more quickly react to changes in the market and competitive landscape. We found that businesses recognize the value of the cloud services to help accelerate their digital transformation and to be able to unlock additional digital services that help the clients help the companies innovate more quickly. Right around about 80% of global organizations already use a combination of both public cloud, on-premises private clouds, which would be their data centers and the private clouds that they have in their data centers, as well as edge environments. In 2021, this is based on a research report from VMware called Cloud Market Insights. This research report has shown that about 46% of organizations expect to add more cloud environments, and 91% of executives identify migration and modernization of legacy applications as a priority in order to stay competitive. So moving to the cloud certainly offers ways to modernize infrastructure without capital expenditures and helping reduce costs while increasing agility. These are some really common benefits of public cloud, and they have been there for over 7 years. The big difference or the big benefit above and beyond those common benefits is really allowing the company to innovate and ultimately transform their business in order to retain or to gain a competitive advantage within their market. And cloud is really a tool for them to unlock that business value. So when we talk to clients, and this has been true from the very beginning as well as even recently, clients, different enterprise companies are at various points along their, I guess, maturity in terms of how they consume cloud services. So cloud has often been described as a journey rather than a destination because it's a process and it's typically several years to form a multi-cloud strategy. Um, and the journey, I guess, is the most effective and efficient way to lower risk and options. Uh, the way to kind of get started is to quite simply migrate workloads to the cloud before modernizing those applications. Migration tends to be the first step in that journey. And once on the cloud, customers not only have the uh, uh, the access to the latest and most advanced cloud services, but they have the ability to massively scale with ease and speed, and also the flexibility to look across their existing applications and figure out which ones should be prioritized for modernization so that they can then modernize, take advantage of the new cloud services, and be able to innovate in a more structured and cost-effective manner. The real aim to moving VMware workloads to the cloud is to help refocus the VMware ops and development teams on thinking about how to redesign the future of their application landscape. And these applications could be, customer facing, they could be backend ERP type workloads that help drive, the business's day-to-day activities and operations, and being able to take those workloads and where it makes sense, move them to the cloud. It really helps put them on that first step of the journey. The other I guess parts of the process, if you were to look at this kind of diagram, is the migrate is the lift and shift of current VMware workloads to the cloud. Then there's an evolve step, which involves kind of changing, slowly the VMware landscape to adopt cloud capabilities. And this could just be, taking advantage of, cloud object storage, for example, to help archive backups and protect backups in a very cost-effective way. It could also be introducing net new use cases that were never really possible before in the client's own data center due to maybe cost considerations, like being able to replicate their their business critical workloads from one data center to another data center that is far away so that they can help maintain business continuity if there was an outage in their own data center. They have a kind of a backup that they can, you know, fail over to. Others are, you know, high availability. So being able to take advantage of really robust infrastructure and architectures that really increase the overall uptime and availability of their applications. Um, Use cases like offsite backup, for example, for data protection, and also kind of the latest and most advanced security, cyber security, and compliance monitoring solutions that are available in the cloud that can help them meet their regulation requirements and also help them do audit reporting and things like that. The third tier is transform, and that's really where you start to change the actual VMware application and change your development processes so you can adopt, you know, frameworks like agile and be able to work more closely with operations in a DevOps type model and be able to move more quickly and increase your agility um, in the cloud because cloud resources are very quick to be available. You can scale very quickly and you can start to move as an organization much faster. And really the last and kind of the nirvana at the very top of the pyramid graphic is innovation. So when you're looking at your existing applications, you're looking at the market needs, you can start to align your business strategy such that you can unlock new insights from clients, from your own clients and end users' data. You can help improve those user experiences from those insights, and then you can also identify new ways that you can meet your end users' needs. And that's really the driving force behind cloud and application modernization is once you start moving quickly and you start to be able to react more quickly, you can start to gain competitive advantages and unlock that rate of innovation so that you can innovate more quickly. So one of the things that we're seeing, and this is a recent, I guess, compelling act to look at cloud and looking at moving VMware workloads to the cloud, is that VMware as a software company will end their general support for all versions of vSphere, the VMware hypervisor, version 6.5, 6.7, all of those versions will go end of general support by October of 2022 next year. And more quickly, if you are consuming NSX, which is their software defined networking stack, NSX-V will go end of general support even sooner by January of 2022. And there's a lot of clients that have been using NSX-V in particular, and these clients are large enterprises. We work with some of the largest banks worldwide, and their network design is very complex, and they've got a lot of configurations and investment in their NSX-V design. And the easiest way for them to move to vSphere 7 and NSX-T, which is the new kind of, I guess, uh, the new software-defined networking stack that VMware has created, is to actually migrate their workloads from the older environment to a fresh, new, clean environment with vSphere 7 and NSX-T, already configured and laid out, and be able to kind of vMotion those workloads. That really represents kind of the lowest risk, fastest path to modernizing their existing infrastructure. But it's also a great time to look across the applications and see if there's applications that make sense to move to the cloud, where you can move from older VMware versions to a new modernized infrastructure stack in the public cloud. and obviously a lot of the benefits around refreshing servers, uh, the benefit of flexibility, scalability, availability that all comes with the cloud is one of the big driving factors around this kind of compelling act to look at moving the applications. Uh, if it's done right, there's a lot of opportunities for the business to move and not only get on the latest versions, but it's a great time to kind of sit back and look and you know contemplate your overall cloud strategy, and how the cloud strategy makes sense for your business and which applications should go to which cloud, because not all applications will move to the cloud, um, and that's okay. Some of the applications are best for on premises. They could have dependencies on mainframes. They could have dependencies on how they were built, and the kind of the reasons that they're still running, but perhaps they're on bare metal hardware and they haven't been virtualized yet. So there's quite a few applications that may not be candidates for the cloud, but the ones that are available that can be moved, I think it's a good time to sit down and identify what is, the overall cloud strategy and which ones should be kind of the focus. There's a lot of things, considerations that go into that, including security, making sure that you can continue to maintain compliance requirements as you move these applications to the cloud. Performance is another factor. So often, there are either certified hardware that these applications need to run on, or you have certain performance requirements even in the cloud, so that you can maintain a consistent performance when they do move to the cloud. And the kind of last item I want to touch on is, businesses have, basically it's a common challenge across all businesses really. They have to do more with less. So there's a higher expectation for them to produce, to move more quickly, but their budgets typically remain relatively flat. So they're not getting huge investments to make these moves or to implement their cloud strategy. So they have to do it in a very cost effective way while keeping the lights on in their own data centers. So this is really kind of an important thing to think about is, what is the complexity of moving your workloads to the cloud? Can you kind of simply lift and shift and then start to take advantage of the clouds, or do you have to really think about how you would have to re-platform your applications, or even refactor your applications, tear them apart and rebuild them so that they're cloud native? So those are just some things to contemplate. I'm going to pause. We do have a poll question, and I'm really curious, based on kind of the things that we've covered and a lot of the comments around end of general support. I'm just curious to learn a little bit more from our audience. So I'll pause, and folks can take a look at the poll question in WebEx, and then we'll be able to kind of take a poll and see how many in the audience are still running an older version of vSphere, like vSphere 6.7 or older. And I think that's going to be really interesting from what I've seen uh, from our clients. About 75% of our install base is still running vSphere 6.5 or 6.7. So I'm just curious to see, what what other folks are running right now in their data centers. Okay, it looks like the poll has ended. It looks like I would say the folks that have responded, most of them are are still running version 6.7 or older. So it is going to be, a challenge to kind of look at moving to vSphere 7. It can be more simple as an upgrade to move to from 6.7 to 7.0 or 7. Update 2 is, I think, is the latest release, and that unlocks a lot of new opportunities when you modernize your VMware hypervisor and vCenter, and it does represent kind of an opportunity for folks to also kind of take inventory of their applications and their overall cloud strategy. And thank you for everyone who responded to the poll too. Thank you for that. So, we've talked about the kind of why we should look at the cloud, the hybrid cloud model. Some of the compelling events that might help us accelerate the reason to move to the cloud. We're going to now kind of shift gears and focus on why the IBM Cloud, what makes IBM Cloud helpful in terms of this cloud journey, and a couple of kind of core pillars, three different pillars that IBM Cloud offers. Is the first one is kind of the open innovation. So the IBM Cloud is much broader than VMware running VMware workloads on the IBM Cloud, and there's a lot of other services that are around open source that really help you, in a very cost-effective way, look at different APIs and different ways to manage and orchestrate containers that help you modernize your existing workloads or even create net new cloud native workloads using a lot of open source platform and tooling. And along with that, anytime you think of a public cloud, you also want to think of security. So I think over, let's see if I have the stat, from a survey, 81% of IT executives reported that they are concerned about data breaches due to a wider distributed threat plane when looking at public cloud. So security is always top of mind, and as it should be. There's a lot of high profile data breaches and privacy concerns because of how things are configured in the private or the public cloud. So it is very important that when looking to move workloads, you look for certain hardened architectures, automation that helps put in best practices around configurations, and even just the deeper experience and expertise around security and compliance can really help prevent a lot of the cyber threats that are out there that we see almost weekly or daily in the newspaper or on the news. And lastly is the enterprise grade nature of this. So the IBM Cloud has been built around the enterprise segment, which is really some of the largest multinational or global businesses in the world, and basically building requirements for those enterprises and for the enterprise need, as well as understanding their security requirements, their compliance and regulation requirements, and being able to deliver those services that really meet the enterprise needs. And a lot of the enterprises that we work with are also they've got investments, not only investments in VMware, but they are heavily invested in other things in their data centers, like mainframes from years ago, and then being able to connect the mainframe with cloud services is really how you can continue to leverage a lot of the investment you have as an enterprise, and extend that investment longer with a lot of these services that can take advantage of IBM Power and AIX and IBM Z mainframe, and having that kind of tight integration really helps extend the life of the mainframe computers. We talked a little bit about why IBM Cloud. Now we're going to get a little bit more specific about why should you run VMware, in particular, VMware workloads on IBM Cloud. And we've talked about the three pillars, but in terms of the very specific VMware benefits, there are several really compelling reasons to move VMware workloads to the IBM Cloud. And some of the overall benefits, open innovation, security leadership, enterprise grade, are kind of baked into a lot of these specific VMware benefits. I think the two key ones here that are differentiators for IBM is the enterprise grade and the security that kind of goes hand in hand with enterprise grade for the cloud. And when we looked at building this VMware portfolio, we looked at building really to the largest enterprise needs in the most heavily regulated industries, and that's where we've built our automation. We've built our different VMware offerings and platforms so that they are kind of secure by default or secure to the core, and then they also are considering all the other enterprise needs there. One example is we've introduced, you know, a I guess infrastructure model that allows you to stretch your vSAN infrastructure across multiple data centers within a region so that you can take advantage of the cloud and all the different data centers around the world that IBM has and be able to increase the uptime of VMware workloads. Where in the past, if you had one or maybe two data centers kind of distributed across the world, you didn't really have that opportunity to have low latency, high availability infrastructure based on some new vSAN architectures. So we're basically offering, for your most business and mission critical workloads, the ability to increase the uptime of those applications, up to, let's say, 99.99%, so four nines of uptime, by introducing new infrastructure models that were never really available to enterprises in the past because they just couldn't, invest that much, nor would they want to, in data centers. So this public cloud really allows them to take advantage of kind of enterprise architecture, but also higher, more robust architecture and infrastructure for their mission critical loads. On the security side, there's also enhancements. And going back to the mainframe references we had earlier, we have mainframe type technology that allows you to enhance the encryption of your keys that you use for encryption of um, other things. You can store your keys, manage your keys, and encrypt your keys using what's called FIPS 142-2 level 4, which it's basically a standard that is the highest level of encryption for the keys that you use to encrypt other things. That highest level of encryption is the same type of encryption that enterprises use for blockchain, for example. And it is differentiated because it basically takes advantage of hardware, technology in the mainframe that allows you to deliver that level of encryption, and gives you the flexibility to bring your own keys from on premises to the cloud and maintain that high level of security. A couple of other things I want to touch upon is the kind of the flexibility and that flexibility really comes in a couple of different forms. We have, the largest option for bare metal configurations for VMware, so you can mix and match the cores, the RAM, and the disk of the bare metal server that you run your VMware workloads on. So you have a single tenant, dedicated server, and dedicated private cloud that's hosted in an IBM Cloud data center. And you're able to really dial in the performance of that server so it matches the infrastructure that you have in your own data center. And you can dial in the performance, you can help right size your infrastructure when you do move to the cloud because on modern infrastructure, let's say you're refreshing your servers, you can need fewer servers to run the same number of applications because the servers have gotten more powerful over time. So being able to have that flexibility is I think really one of the things that makes IBM Cloud stand out among competitors. And then we also have the broadest set of consumption options for VMware in the public cloud. And what that really means is we built several different VMware platforms depending on your needs. So you could have a single tenant private cloud, you can have a multi-tenant public cloud hosted in an IBM data center. Then you also can have specific solutions for highly regulated industries, for example, that have um, you know, controls and compliance monitoring services and security services that help you meet your compliance needs. So there's really a lot of different options um, and different consumption models where you can pay monthly for steady state workloads, or you can just pay for what you consume in a very cloud-like model, and you just pay hourly, and you can it's as simple as moving a few VMs into the cloud. So you can start really small. One of the things we also kind of talk about is modernizing workloads, and we'll get a little bit more deep into that topic in a bit. But being able to run other tools like Red Hat OpenShift, which is a container management and orchestration platform on top of VMware, being able to leverage NSXT to help manage security and network configurations across both VMware VMs and containers. These are all examples of being able to unlock new use cases in the IBM Cloud. And lastly, just the deep expertise that IBM Cloud has curated over time by running the largest number of VMware workloads around the world, largest in the world, and that experience has really been taken and drilled into the VMware architecture, design, best practices around building these platforms in the IBM Cloud. There's been over 100,000 VMs, just as an example, that have been migrated from on-premise data centers into the cloud without any need for replatforming or refactoring those applications. So it's really important to be able to lean on service providers that have that deep level of VMware expertise, but also the operational experience. So as an operator, we know how to run VMware at scale, and that I think is incredibly important. Some of the key differentiators, uh, mission critical architecture. We kind of talked about that. Being able to use stretch vSAN across data centers within a region. New security services like the highest level of encryption in the public cloud for encryption of keys, so that you can bring your own key for your own encryption to the cloud. Um, we have a broad portfolio of both platforms as well as host configuration choices, so you can really dial in the server configuration. Regulated workloads, being able to run those in a very secure way and on hardened designs. Um, we have the only cloud that offers SAP certified ESXi hosts and bare metal. So we are a great target for SAP landscapes. And then also, because we have such a broad set of portfolio options, different consumption models, different hardware options, we really are able to lower the cost and drive down the total cost of ownership for these workloads. And some of the comments from our clients. So BNPP which is BNP Paribas is a global bank that we recently announced a strategic relationship with. So we strike up a lot of relationships with banks like BNPP, Bank of America in the States, to help build solutions in these highly regulated industries for banks, financial services, for insurance companies, and we're able to really take some of the experience and enterprise requirements and bake them into platforms that can scale with the cloud. So a lot of you know um, these enterprise requirements benefit everyone else outside of those highly regulated industries as well. So taking really some of the best practices from the most security conscious and compliance conscious customers and being able to kind of bake that into the cloud really unlocks the same benefits that the banks see when they move their workloads to the cloud, which is the speed of the cloud, the lower reduced cost and operational cost and operational streamlining, and also just maintaining the highest level of security possible. And really that they see public cloud as a way to enhance their security from what they do in their own data centers, because this is really our full-time job as a service provider is security and compliance. So I'll move on to the next slide here. This is just a kind of a quick slide to show the global distribution of both IBM data centers as well as what we call multi-zone regions. And obviously we have data centers in Chennai and we have data centers around the world really for a lot of different countries to help meet country specific regulations, be able to uh, reduce latency where companies are distributed around the world or have their own workforce distributed where folks are working from home, and that kind of geographic distribution of data centers is really important when looking at public clouds. And the MZR concept is really, think of it as a cluster of data centers within a region where you can, spread out your infrastructure across 3 data centers and be able to, um, load balance your workloads across this infrastructure that's been basically stretched across 3 data centers and take advantage of that higher availability that comes along with it. These are the kind of the core use cases that we commonly see: hybrid cloud adoption, uh, risk mitigation and compliance readiness, migration and modernization of SAP S4 HANA workloads, uh, data protection, disaster recovery, high availability. Desktop as a service is becoming very, very hot right now because of the COVID pandemic. More companies are, requiring their workers to stay at home, to continue to work from home, and that puts a lot of stress on the infrastructure that the enterprises have. So looking at ways where they can help keep their workforce online, keep them productive, desktop as a service is a big part of the use cases that we see from our clients. And lastly is app modernization. And this is a particular use case that we're going to dive into a little bit more deeply in the next slide. Actually, sorry, I didn't change this slide here. So now you guys can see the use cases I was talking about. But basically, application modernization is that part of the cloud journey where you're really unlocking a lot of the business value and innovation and being able to move more quickly to meet market demands and to stay competitive. So this next slide really speaks to a path to modernizing VMware workloads. And this is coming from both some of the research that we've seen there's a report that was recently done by VMware in 2021 that kind of identifies the top three challenges that come along with modernizing, heritage applications or enterprise applications. And there's really three challenges. The first challenge is taking your kind of your rigid monolithic application that was built, many years ago, maybe over a decade ago, by people that may not even be with the company anymore. Taking those monolithic, complex enterprise applications and figuring out how to identify the dependencies within those applications. Often there are three-tier applications with a web tier, an app tier, and like a database, and understanding how that application works across other applications to deliver enterprise services or deliver services to development teams. Understand the dependencies, understand the complexities so that you can kind of take them apart and then build them back together again in the public cloud so that they are cloud native. But what their clients are finding out is that it's not that straightforward and it's not that easy as simply turning on a light switch. So it is a lot of planning that goes into this and a lot of research to understand how these applications have been built. Um, and that's one of the challenges that enterprises face. The other challenge is just the sheer cost complexity um, and the risk around refactoring a business critical or mission critical application. When we talk to enterprise clients, we find that often it's taking them twice as long and it's twice as expensive as they were really thinking it would be when they start to dig into these applications and start to refactor them so that they are native for the cloud. So it is a lot of expense. It's taking a lot longer. So we find that clients need kind of a landing zone first for these applications. And then when they get able to prioritize the applications for refactoring, they can spend more time on it in the public cloud, but while still getting a lot of the benefits of cloud for their existing heritage applications. The last one that represents the third challenge is just scarce developer resources. So it's a very competitive workforce landscape. There's a lot of competition for a very small set of, uh, I guess, workforce that have the right skills for IT, the right skills for development, the right skills for even public cloud or the concept of cloud. So they do find that it's really hard to find the right set of talent. So those are the kind of the challenges that clients face. This path to modernizing workloads helps reduce those challenges or definitely lessens the severity of those challenges because the kind of the first idea is with hybrid cloud you can simply lift and shift your VMware workloads without having to replatform them. So when you have similar infrastructure that you run on premises in your own data center, the same operational model, you can easily kind of stretch your VMware networking from on premises into the cloud, and then rapidly migrate your VMs from one VMware environment to the VMware environment that's hosted in the cloud. There's a lot of immediate benefits that we discussed, reducing costs, increasing speed, taking advantage of scale in the cloud. But it also gives you some more time to be able to I guess, architect and refactor these applications at your own pace. So once they're in the cloud, it's a lot easier to take advantage of DevOps tooling, take advantage of containerization platforms that help you break apart portions of the application and containerize them where they make sense. So that could be a second step, which is kind of this cloud-enabled step in the middle. And you can start to slowly evolve these applications, either to just immediately take advantage of some of these cloud services through close proximity, like being able to um, leverage object storage or leverage data analytics to analyze data in your database, So there's a lot of new features and functionality that opens up when you move these workloads into the cloud. And that's not necessarily tearing them apart and rebuilding them, but you can keep them as is, keep them on the same VMware hypervisor, but extend their capabilities through advanced cloud services. And then, where it makes sense, you can start to refactor these applications over time using containerization platforms like Red Hat OpenShift, microservices, machine learning, artificial intelligence capabilities in the cloud, and that really helps you create new innovation and business value in these applications. Uh, I guess lastly, I just want to comment on, you know, you could run, Red Hat OpenShift, which is an orchestration and management container platform on VMware and be able to inherit a lot of the same security and hardening of the VMware environment up through your containers. NSXT obviously helps you manage from a single pane of glass the security networking settings across VMware VMs and containers. There's a lot of benefit of doing that, but you can also create net new cloud native applications on Red Hat OpenShift directly or on a Kubernetes service from the IBM Cloud as well. So you have that flexibility, and you can even keep portions of your application, like the database, on VMware in a VMware VM, and create a massively scalable web tier in the container on the container service, and have that network connectivity to connect the application all together and have all these different components talk to microservices, talk to bare metal, talk to VMware virtualized VMs, all within the same cloud. There is one poll question that I do want to introduce at this point in time. Again, I'm curious. We see a lot of clients. I think it's probably about again, it's probably about 75% of our clients are running NSXV, and that is a VMware software-defined data center networking fabric. And VMware is doing an end of general support for NSXV by January of next year. So there is a big push to migrate off of NSXV to NSXT. And I'm curious to see, how many of the folks in the audience have migrated to NSXT already ahead of the end of support to help manage their networking and security across VMware VMs and containers. So I think Rudy is going to put up a polling question that asks, how many of you guys already migrated to NSXT and are on your way to kind of using that to help manage networking and security across containers and VMs? And we'll just give folks, another 30 seconds to take a look at the poll question in WebEx and select an answer. Okay, looks like the poll has closed. So let's take a look at the answers and see how many people have moved to NSXT already. Okay. Wow. Yeah. So based on the folks that have answered, just very few have made it to NSXT. It is a complex migration. What we're finding when we talk to our clients, especially some of the largest, most complex clients in terms of their VMware environment, is that it's hard to design the NSXT networking that needs to be the target zone for their VMware workloads. It takes deeper expertise around NSXT, and some people are familiar with V, but they're not as familiar with NSXT, and how V gets translated in terms of the network design is one of the challenges that we do see with our clients. But once you get it right, and you're able to kind of vMotion those VMs from one location to the other, it really is a great way to modernize your infrastructure. And there's a lot of different migration tools available for the IBM Cloud to help move from V to T. And when you do that migration, you really should consider looking at the public cloud and migrating those VMs to the cloud, um, at the same time. It really is a great opportunity to do that. So I want to spend just a couple more minutes, really just to summarize. There's a lot of help that is available from IBM. IBM is a services company with a lot of deep expertise, and we work with clients on not only helping them find the right VMware platform that makes sense for their workloads, but also giving them the expertise needed to adopt DevOps, to enhance their agile methodology, to be able to move more quickly in the development and delivery of their features to their end users. And we have a lot of different consulting services that really help, from migration of VMware workloads to the cloud all the way to helping them modernize those applications and help them discover what those dependencies are, and perform application profiling to really understand their heritage enterprise applications, and what is the best way to break them apart and refactor them, and put them back together, that so that they're cloud native. So there's just a lot of different services that, when you look at a public cloud, having that consulting arm that's baked into the services really is becomes a almost like a trusted advisor, where you're able to lean on their expertise as you go down your cloud journey, as also as you look at identifying the applications that make sense to modernize, and being able to avoid a lot of the pitfalls and challenges that come along with modernizing applications, especially complex applications that have been running for many many years without any issue, and trying to figure out how you would put them back together again in the cloud. So there's just a lot of options there to lean on, all on the same paper. Basically, the one single throat to choke, as we call it in the industry, so that you have one provider that can really help you end to end with your needs. So with that, I'll stop and open it up to questions. Thank you so much for your time, and I really hope that this has been informative, and I do appreciate it. So thank you very much, and we'll open it up to questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Scott. Ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for the question and answer. If you wish to ask any questions to the respected speaker related to the subject of the webinar, you're requested to post your queries on the chat appearing on the right-hand side of your WebEx console. Repeating and requesting again, ladies and gentlemen, if you wish to ask any questions to the respected speaker related to the subject of the webinar, please post your queries on the chat appearing on the right-hand side of your WebEx console. With that said, Mr. Scotton, the first question reads out as, what is the minimum infrastructure required? Can I start by migrating just a single VM?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. So yeah, what we have in terms of different consumption models, we have both dedicated single tenant private clouds that are hosted in IBM Cloud data centers for a higher level of isolation, but we also have a multi-tenant platform where you could start as small as just migrating a single virtual machine to the IBM Cloud, and that's can be really helpful for different use cases, like proof of concepts, or projects around dev test that could be more ephemeral, where you're really just consuming what you use on an hourly basis, and you pay hourly based on your compute and storage resources that you consume. But really, you're just using a slice of compute resources, and you can start as small as a single VM. So it makes it really simple to start consuming cloud infrastructure at a very low price. So that's one of the things that we see uh, clients, use the multi-tenant service for, training, hands-on labs, things like that, things that, need massive scale, but aren't really long-lived. They're not steady state applications. They're just needed for maybe a couple of days out of the week. So clients will go in there, they'll spin up their VMware environment. They can start as small as a single VM, or they can just scale it up rapidly, and then they can just shut it all down and not pay for the rest of the month and just pay for what they use.
Thank you so much. The next question reads out as, what type of tools are available for disaster recovery and backup?
hmm Yeah, so there is a lot of uh, optional add-on services as part of our broad VMware portfolio. We have a lot of different platforms that we talked about, single tenant, multi-tenant. There's also add-on services that take advantage of our advanced automation, where you could, let's take the disaster recovery use case. You could replicate your tier one or tier two applications using Zerto. For example, Zerto is one of the industry leading disaster recovery tools. And we've built automation that deploys Zerto automatically. It configures Zerto in your VMware Cloud on IBM Cloud, and it allows you to more quickly stand up those tools. Also takes care of the billing. It takes care of the metering of the usage of Zerto, and it's all in a subscription cloud-like model. So it really helps simplify, standing up these tools that can be used for disaster recovery replication of your workloads. And those could be workloads that are replicated from your data center on premises into the IBM Cloud, and the IBM Cloud becomes your disaster recovery target data center. Or you can, replicate between IBM Cloud data centers, intra-cloud. So you could be running workloads, let's say in Chennai, and replicate to a different geography. So you could prevent, outages in case, there's any downtime that you experience. You can fail over to the other data center. We have other tools like Veeam, which is an excellent tool. Often it's used for data protection. So being able to replicate and back up your application data either in the actual data center or even create offsite copies in another data center that can then be archived in object storage, which is a very low cost um, retention target, so that you can keep your data, uh, depending on compliance requirements, you might have to keep your data and keep your records for a certain number of years, and you can copy uh, those records to an offsite location and archive them.
Thank you so much. The next question is coming up from Sahadevan Vijayan. And the question reads out as, what may be the hurdle if we try to migrate a vMotion on a premises on premises and IBM Cloud to cater different geolocations based on time zone?
Yeah, so if you go from on-premises to the IBM Cloud, some of the challenges could be, uh, how you have, let's see, um, the one of them, I guess, is bandwidth and networking. So in between the location, depending on the distance between on-premise and the target data center in the cloud that you're going to be migrating to, you could use different technologies like direct link to enhance the security. Excuse me, I'm going to get a sip of water. Hold on. Sorry about that. To enhance the security and the bandwidth of that's needed to move workloads and vMotion them in real time without experiencing downtime. The good news is VMware has a lot of technologies that allow you to stretch your networking between on-premises data center and a cloud data center like IBM Cloud, using technologies like VMware HCX. And HCX stretches your layer 2 networking between the data centers. And really that what that means is it allows you to vMotion live workloads without downtime between one data center and the other, provided you have enough bandwidth. And you can vMotion these workloads real time without turning them off and without having to re-IP the VMs. So it stretches your networking from on-prem into the IBM Cloud. That allows you to kind of quickly move VMware workloads and drastically reduces network complexity while doing it. And I think that's really the core concept is reducing network complexity because that speeds up the migration process. We've seen before HCX was created, we saw clients, it could take them, months of planning to before they could even migrate a single VM because of the network complexity involved with moving a VM that is in a 10.x space on-prem into a public cloud's networking space. And if you can bridge the two with a layer 2 bridge and the networking, it really helps you move those workloads much, much faster. And it's a much easier experience overall too, which is always helpful. And really, that's a lot of the benefit of VMware. So VMware's created a lot of that technology because they own the full stack. They're able to do those types of use cases and just make it a lot easier to do.
Thank you so much. There are no further questions at this point of time. Turning the program back to you for your closing comments, sir.
That's really it for me. I really do appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and please do reach out if you guys have any questions. I'm very grateful to having this opportunity to talk to you about some of these exciting use cases and especially around application modernization. So hopefully it was informative, and I wish you all a happy evening.
Thank you so much, Mr. Scott. And with that said, I would like to put a vote of thanks to all the participants who have joined for and have given us the precious time for this webinar. Wish you all have a great evening ahead and requesting to please stay safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you.